All right, so we are live. How's it going, guys?
What up? How we doing? How we doing?
Really appreciate both of you guys making the time to come on. I know you guys are very busy with for Brandon, for BB here, a full-time non-Pokemon job, and the Pokemon exploits, the Pokemon job, and Chef is full-time Pokemon like
Mhm.
myself, and you know. Definitely overdue having you guys on here. So for those who don't know, Chef and Brandon they've been coworkers of mine, co Pokemon workers of mine for coming up on a year, I think.
Yeah,
Um,
almost just
and
about.
I think it's overdue just having them on here, introducing them to this audience, to people in the hobby. Let people know that if you see them, that we're all on the same team, and we're all working on the same team and on the same projects. And yeah, so I wanted to turn it over to them and just kind of let them introduce themselves a little bit. What they do, what you guys do in Pokemon, and kind of who you are a little bit to the audience. And then we will get into our like broader topic and conversation for the night. And then if anyone has any questions for these guys, for me, for all of us, um, we'll probably start with talking about streaming, because that's what a big part of what we've been working on. Not the only thing, but a big part of what we've been working on together. Um, Streaming and live selling. But market questions in general, collecting. We're all big Pokemon fans. We want to talk about art, talk about what we like, what we enjoy, any news in the hobby, like any of those things. It's all fair game as far as questions, and this can turn into just kind of like a hangout with you guys in the audience. So appreciate you guys for coming on, and appreciate everyone for tuning in. So why don't I hand it over to you, Chef, first, and if you want to introduce yourself a little bit and go from there.
All right. So I go by PokeChef954 on all the socials. Everybody just calls me Chef. Full time in Pokemon, and I stream live 5 days a week on eBay Live with BB here. So BB typically does Mondays and Tuesdays, and then I do Wednesday through Sunday. And right now we're exclusively on eBay Live, and it's going really well. It's lots of fun, lots of fun.
I'll try to keep it somewhat short and sweet, because I know we can
Right.
get into some more details
Mhm.
as we go on. But my name's Brandon. I go by BB, Pokey BB, you might see as well. And like Chef said, I've been with this team. Next month will actually be a year, because I know Jake said we're approaching a year, and so it's kind of crazy that 11 months have gone by this quickly. But a lot has happened in 11 months. Like Chef said, I stream Mondays and Tuesdays, and then I'll, every now and then you'll see me on like a random Saturday, Sunday, or, if Chef needs a day off and we need to switch something, you might see me on another day. But typically Mondays and Tuesdays. And then I also am sort of like a jack of all trades, I guess, for the business. I'm out helping to try to source sometimes. I'm the one who's helping to lead a lot of the vending efforts that we have. With that in mind, we also have a San Diego card party this coming up weekend. So I'll be there. If anyone's there, stop by and say hello. Mason and I will be manning the booth, and Luke, who also works with us, Legend of Luke, will also be there. So come by and say hello if you're in San Diego this weekend. And I think that covers about everything high level, at least with this business. Outside of this, I've been doing Pokemon business related things, I guess you could say, for 4 or 5 years now at this point, something like that. I know I got back in 2020, but it was really just buying stuff. I didn't sell anything for over a year, really just learning, absorbing, enjoying the hobby at the very beginning. And now I've just been doing a lot of like grading on the side, and vending at local shows, buying at local shows, going to collecticons on both sides of the table, whether it's vending or going out and sourcing things. So done a little bit of a lot of things, and just try to bring as much of my experience as I can to this team. And it's really helped with some of the products we've been putting together, which I'm sure we can talk about if y'all have any questions as well. But that sort of covers high level everything that I'm involved in.
Yeah, and both of these guys are also helping and involved in the, I don't know who caught Mason and I's live stream. Go check that out on Mason's channel last night, talking about some of the stuff we're working on. We also work with Mason. Yeah, so I guess a good place to start. I mean, so the title of the video is "Are Pokemon live streamers trying to scam you?" And you guys are both live streamers, so I guess I'll ask you what's your mindset when you live stream? What do you think you guys as live streamers have to offer the audience, and what do you think are some of the good things that streaming can be and bad things that streaming can be? And we can just kind of open it up as a general question. Who would like to go first?
What's that?
Whoever would like to go first, just go for it.
All right. For me, I think like the way I approach streaming, and I've talked about this before, I'm trying to make it like the safest, most like fun place for them as possible, because I feel like not all streams are like that, and a lot of them do have a bad reputation. So I try to go against the grain, and really it's just full positivity. I'm really good about monitoring chat and making sure everything's like appropriate. I won't use like any foul language or anything on a stream, anything like that. I'm really trying to make it like welcome to anybody who tunes in. I'm a dad, so if somebody has kids around or something like that, I try to keep it kind of nice and light. But again, it's tough because we're in this as a business, but I try to keep Pokemon very fun and like Pokemon focused, and the artists and the cards and a little bit of the educational side of that, or like the collecting. I try to like promote a lot of the very stuff that's kind of getting pushed to the side now in today's market. So I try to do that on stream, and we never talk about the money. We never talk about market too much really at all on the stream. So I just try to make it like the happiest, most fun stream possible, and then have everybody's back. Like I'm gonna make sure you're taken care of if something happens. You can reach out to me, I'll respond immediately. I'll make sure you're taken care of. The ultimate goal is every guest leaves happy. So that's always been how BB and I have streamed on there. I do think that, with the other platforms and stuff, there's not much regulation on that. And I think it's nature of the beast. When you don't have systems in place or procedures in place, I think this is the effect of it. So until there's something that goes in effect at all these other platforms, I don't know if a lot of that stuff will change. However, I do feel like the negative always gets highlighted more than the positive. So I do think we see more of a negative light on a lot of things, but I do think there's a lot of good streamers like us out there trying to combat that. But the good streamers and stuff, you don't get the headlines. Only like the negative things or the crazy stuff you see get all the headlines, and it gives everything kind of a little bit of a bad reputation. Thankfully, eBay's pretty good. Majority of the people streaming on eBay are well vetted and kind of monitored a little bit more, things like that. So yeah.
So why should someone buy from you or buy from us versus buying from maybe another stream, or more to the point, I think just going onto eBay or going to a local local store? What are some of the advantages of buying on a live stream? And that can be for either of you.
Yeah.
I mean, I can speak to that a little bit. I mean, buying from us, as Chef said, we're really, I guess one word to summarize it is we're really there to like entertain and help build a community. We're not just, and look, I know C word, woohoo, taboo, whatever people want to say, but like that's truly what we built with our audience. Like the fact that you can come in and you have 15 different people that say, hey, like you have someone that comes in and says, oh, this is my first time here. We have not just us as the streamers, but we have 10, 15 just regular people that are in there. They're like, oh my gosh, welcome here. Like, this is one of the best places you could ever be. We got people giving away cards. Like, if someone's like, oh, I'm looking for this card, we have someone who will literally go out, buy that card. They'll outbid everybody else and then say, give this to so-and-so, just to make sure that when they come in, they're also enjoying it and having a good time. And like, that's not something we've told anyone to do. That's just naturally happened with our audience, because they're basically just reflecting what we're trying to bring as an experience for a viewer. And so we're coming in, as Chef said, not looking for, like, let's just try to get as much money as possible. We're not ever talking about prices of cards or anything. Like, my goal when I'm streaming, and I tell people when they come in all the time, is like, I want you to tell me, what is it that you're collecting? What are you missing? And let me try to fill in some of those gaps for you, because that's what makes me happy. And hopefully, and it seems to make the audience happy as well. And so like, we're there to truly just like provide a good experience for people. And part of that is getting shiny cardboard that they want. But that's really, I think, what we're bringing to the table that not every other stream is. I think, like Chef said, there's a lot of streams that do that, but that's something that's really our main focus.
Mm-hmm. And I think we add a lot of variety to streams. We don't just have one style of card. We have like multiple languages. We have multiple products. I think with how we have monitored the chat, I think the end result is like the kind of the community that we're left with right now. And to your point, it's crazy how many times they like gift each other cards, and like how super respectful and nice to each other they are. When I watch streams all the time, and I don't see anything like that as frequent in any other streams. And it blows my mind how many kind people and stuff we have in the chats. And it's awesome. It's awesome. Like when I stream, the number one thing I like is the engagement between the audience and myself. And I love that. The more engagement, the better for me. And it's just remarkable, like how, I don't know, just how kind they are. It really is. It blows my mind all the time. But yeah, like you said, we are there to entertain. We're there to educate. We're there to help grow collections. And I think a lot of like the fun in Pokemon is kind of in the shadows to a certain extent. I think there is still fun in Pokemon and with the market and things like that. But in our stream, it's very Pokemon focused, not like money focused, so to speak. So I do like that we have that, and we're not just talking about, that, that went under, that went over, that went, all these things. It's just, hey, we're here to have fun. Hey, like we all got excited the other day. I had the 151 Bulbasaur, and the guy needed that last card for his collection, and he got it. And it was like everybody like supported him and cheered him on and stuff like that. Like all that is very cool to me. I like when we have the last card that they need for their collection, or something that somebody jumps in and they've never had that card before, and it's a good feeling. It really is.
So as people continue to kind of jump in, I'll just restate that I work with both of these gentlemen. We've been working together for about a year, and they stream on eBay Live. We stream on eBay Live, and I see a question in the comments. We have a Discord. We also have a link below the video where you can follow us on eBay Live, and the Discord is something that's pinned to the eBay Lives, I believe, still. Mm-hmm. I'm sure BB can get a link at some point and put that in the chat for anyone who wants to join there. And as Chef and BB said, I think for me, when we looked at starting to do streaming, the thing that always made me cringe, and I'm not saying it's necessarily right or wrong, but the thing that always made me cringe is when a card would go under market and the streamer would sort of berate what felt like berating the audience to pay more, or a card, or they would sort of lie about the value of a card and say, actually, well, this card should go way higher, and actually it was already above what maybe you could buy somewhere else. So how do we manage to not do those things while still try and make money? What is that, and I can talk about the back end of it, but just even from like, just getting into your guys' minds a little bit, like when you're streaming, what are you thinking about? How are you managing, like, okay, I need to focus on the people, on the customer service, on all of these aspects of it, on the joy, on the excitement around the cards. But, if we sell a bunch of $30 cards for $1, we're going to be out of business pretty fast. But we also don't want to say, hey, this is a $30 card and push people to spend more. How do you guys try and navigate that?
I think with streams, there's so much going on. You got to manage, I guess, the price points a little bit. You're managing chat, you're managing auctions, you're packing up, you're sealing things, you're ripping something open. There's so much going on. It's a lot of multitasking with streaming. It's not easy. On top of that, we're full time, or we're doing this, to pay the bills or feed families and things like that. So you're in it a little deeper than the average person. So for me, it's like you really got to keep the emotions in check and stay focused and stay entertaining and positive, because it does not feel good when you lose on a card, or when people are trickling in and you got to start the auctions and you're going to take a loss on XYZ. But I don't like when, to your point, I don't like when like streamers yell at the chat or like wear it on their face or any of that. So you got to really mask it and focus on the fun and the entertainment side. And I feel like it's up to the streamer and the streamer's responsibility to figure out the finance part. So that's how I look at it. So if something happens like that, I'll take it on the chin. I do think it's cool, and part of the excitement when people are in streams and they do get like the the deals here and there, because I don't think there's a stream out there where like 100% of your auctions, 100% of the days all go for 100% of market or over. It just doesn't happen. So I think it's part of the excitement where like somebody can catch a card at a very discounted price, and then you move on. And I think streams are give and takes. Some things go over, some things go under. I think that's, most of us know that. And it's just a matter of balancing that in real time and keeping like the fun and the positivity up, because you can't crash out on any stream, but you can't lose, a bunch of money when you're trying to do this for a full-time gig as well. So it's a very tricky line to walk, but I think, not to toot our own horn, but I think BB and I do a pretty solid job with keeping that all under control and making sure everybody is still happy and entertained, for sure.
Yeah, I think part of this also, just going to the specific examples of streamers yelling at people or berating folks, or saying like, I mean, we'll even make fun of it sometimes in stream of like, come on, chat, like, yeah, you're losing me money, blah blah blah. Like we'll joke about those things, but honestly, like we'll actually celebrate when people get a good deal. Like we'll let them know, like, hey, that's a nice pickup, like congrats on that. And there will be people that are like, oh wow, that went way under market. I'm like, yeah, sometimes you get good deals, and like, congrats. Like that's all I can really say for you. Like I'm happy for you. I'm not going to sit here and yell at you. I'm going to say congrats, because we know at the same time, and our audience knows this too, like there are cards that go over, there are cards that go under. And honestly, in the end, it tends to even itself out a little bit, but it's not just like it evens itself out just because that's just how it all works. There is a lot of like mental energy that actually goes into this when you're navigating, like Chef said, you're navigating, trying to be entertaining, making sure that everyone's feeling comfortable. Everybody feels like they're in a safe space. Everybody's getting cards that they want. But at the same time, actually having knowledge of the cards is super important. Not just like, what is this card? What set is this from, etc. But also like, what is the actual value of this card? I don't need to know the exact dollar, but if I know roughly what it is, I can then navigate, be like, okay, I can see that like this type of card may not be doing as well. I can switch to something else that the audience might want a little bit more. And so it's really having that variety and being able to navigate amongst different types of cards, different Pokemon. I mean, we also can't just sit there and throw up a bunch of niche cards that people don't necessarily know a lot about. And so that's where the whole knowledge piece comes into play as well. So again, there's a lot going on in your mind as you're streaming, but I think the important part is keeping all of that, like Chef said, under control, keeping your emotions under control, and really just using your confidence and knowledge to really just navigate and just keep putting on a good show for everybody.
Do you feel like people are often paying higher for cards on the stream than they would on TCG Player on eBay, like what do you on average, where do you think people are paying for these items?
I feel like as far as the auctions go, I feel like nothing's crazy like over. I feel like there's a couple that go over, there's a couple that go under, but it's all pretty market within somewhat of a window or range, for the most part. And then we have like a high end back wall in the back of our streams, and for me, that's right there, in the mid tier of all the market pricing, and that always does well too. So I don't think there's anything like crazy. I don't think there's any crazy like spikes. I don't think there's any crazy like lows. I think it pretty much is averages out for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely a numbers guy. So like in my head, if I had to put a number on it, I'd say what we end up selling, I'd assume is probably like right at or maybe even slightly below market, if I had to guess. I mean, we're probably talking market plus or minus some small percentage, right? And so in the end, that's what I meant when I said like in the end, everything tends to sort of even itself out when it comes to like what we're selling versus market.
Mhm.
So that's like the raw number of it all. But like Chef said, we're also selling these back wall cards, and these are more expensive cards that we are putting, right in line with market value. And I think what benefit that provides is people get to see the card that's in front of them. It gives them a chance to buy something that is cool. And one thing that I know I specifically pride myself in, and I know it takes a lot longer to sort of do my streams because of this, but people really, really, really enjoy the transparency. What I'm doing is when I pull a card off the back wall, I'm zooming in, I'm running the light across the surface. I'm spending 30 plus seconds on a card looking at the front surface. I'm looking at the corners. I'm looking at the edges. I'm turning it around. I'm pointing out the most minuscule little scratches or whatever I see. Like, it is the full transparency that is very important with the audience, because that gives them confidence and makes them know that they're getting exactly what they're actually paying for. And it keeps them coming back as well, because they do have that trust, and really building that trust with people is super important for us as well.
And to kind of lean into that a little bit more for anybody who doesn't know. So when we run our auctions, we have this back wall that you could see, and it's all the high end. So as we're auctioning, so we have auctions, dollar start, $150, $200 starts for anybody who wants to do the auctions. And then we have the high end cards for, collectors or anybody who wants to take advantage of that. And I think that is, I think that's the coolest thing of our stream. I think that should be taken advantage of even more, because it's like bringing the store to you. So it's not buying off of like TCG Player or just eBay. It's not a picture. It's somebody right there in front of you that can answer questions, zoom in, look at a corner, look at, whatever you want to see on the card. And BB and I, again, we'll take as much time as you need. We'll stop. We'll pause the auctions. We'll answer any questions, front of the card, back of the card. We'll even double check pricing for you. We'll see what we could do for, on the card for you, anything like that. But I think that's a service that's underutilized in our streams. And people do get very excited about that, the back wall, especially when we have tough cards that you can't really find a whole lot of places. I had a, what was it? The alternate art, Yveto Xerneas. I think it's an XY promo, but that card's super cheap. I think there's only 2 near mint copies on the market, and we had a really nice near mint copy that moved either yesterday or today. So cool cards like that show up that are in really nice condition, or when you go to look up pricing, there's not many out there. And then you have the ultra popular, all the newest sets, Ascended Heroes. I had somebody today go pretty crazy on the Ascended Heroes high end cards, but really, really cool feature, I think, that we have on the streams that adds to the collectability, or appeals to the collectors for sure.
So there's auctions. There's like a back wall, which is sort of like a vending table, where people can come and sort of buy it now and make offers and see specific cards. What are the other features or aspects or things do we offer in the streams that you think might be enjoyable for people to know about?
We do pack rips, and then we have our Ace Trainer slap packs on the stream as well. Those are a lot of fun too. But we do have the pack rips, we do have the auctions, we do have the back wall cards. We do traditional auctions, we do sudden death auctions, and then we like to try to combine our shipping as much as possible to help people with that cost. I think if you're, let's say you're there 7 days a week, your tracking label, every order comes with tracking. So your tracking label, you only pay for 3 times out of the entire week total. So BB will bundle Mondays and Tuesdays, Wednesdays gets shipped out next day, and then Thursday through Sunday, all of it gets combined into one shipping, tracking label. And I think that's pretty awesome too, because can't go to the post office on Saturday or Sunday, so it's tough to justify hitting them on a tracking label every single day when I can't pack it or when we can't pack it. But yeah, lots of products. Again, multiple languages. English, Japanese, Chinese, Korean, all sorts of stuff all over there. High end, low end. It's just everything. Pretty exciting.
Yeah, I think one other thing, just a plug for tomorrow, being partnered with Mason, being a big part of our group as well. We do have the privilege to, Mason actually is able to open packs for the newest sets release week, maybe a little bit earlier than you might be able to get them in person. And so like tomorrow, for example, 8:30 Eastern, Mason will be live actually cracking packs of Chaos Rising. And so having the ability to go on eBay and do that, and I mean, I get to watch. So it's just fun for me to get to watch Mason do what he does, because Mason, very busy man running the 2 stores, but seeing him get to stream every now and then with the new releases is always fun. But that's another opportunity for folks to get in and get something a little different than our traditional auction and pack rip streams.
Mm-hmm.
So as people kind of come in and out of chat here, let me know, guys, if you have any questions for us, for these guys. We're also happy to get into a little bit more. No question is off limits. We can get into a little bit more specifics on the financial side, on the business side of how streams function and work. I know people in this community are often interested in the economics of the business. So if you guys do want to know anything about that, feel free to ask a question. I guess I'll ask, or I'll put it this way to you guys. What's been the part that has been the easiest about streaming, both from like a fun kind of mental health like perspective of like, this is very uplifting for my life, and what has been a good financial part of streaming, and then what has been a bad financial part of streaming, or a difficult financial problem with streaming and a difficult like mental health. Why don't we take the financial first? Actually, you know what? Let's take the mental health and the kind of emotional experience of it after doing it a year, because a lot of people here, are interested in streaming, maybe have streamed a little bit, and are also interested in like, should I be doing this? Should I have this for my business? Should I become a streamer? And so, so whoever wants to go first on kind of the sort of highs of the emotional experience, and then kind of the lows of the emotional experience.
I'm super passionate about this topic. I want to make I want to do a live specifically about this topic coming up soon with a couple other full-time streamers. I think people have an understanding of streamers or streaming. It's very easy, and it's all, butterflies, rainbows, and it's super fun, all these things. And I don't think that that's the reality. I think it's a very mental spot to be in. There's highs, there's lows. I think when you're all in on something like this, you feel every dollar. You do. And then you got to keep your emotions intact. Like we said on the stream, it does not feel good. It does not feel good when you lose. One thing I learned, it was a very humbling experience getting on streams, because people will get on there just to attack you. People will attack your character. People will attack your, how you look, your appearance, how you speak, anything and everything. They will say the nastiest, most raunchiest things to you, or they'll be wildly inappropriate or say the most bizarre things, and you have to control yourself because you're guest facing and you're running the show. So it's tough to have all those things go on and then stay smiling, stay happy, especially if you're having like one of those shows where it's just not great. There's not much audience, and sometimes it's out of your control. Sometimes it's like platform glitches, or Wi-Fi is going down, or things happen, and you're really having a good show, and then the platform goes down, or like it starts off bad and then it starts, then it gets good. So you're in this roller coaster of highs and lows. And for me, it's very similar to like the kitchen life, because people used to ask me, what's it like being a chef? And I used to be like, imagine every shift going through every human emotion possible. And it's like that every day, twice a day. It's kind of like that for streaming. You go through like all the emotion streaming. And then when you're on camera sometimes we're on camera for, could be 3 hours, could be 8 hours. We don't know where the stream goes. I've had streams as long as that. I've had streams as short as 2 hours. When you're on camera, it's a lot. It's a lot of personality. For me, I'm introvert in real life. If anybody's around me in real life, I'm very quiet to myself. So my social battery is like 100% into the stream. So it can get worn out after the stream. I'm like, so it's not as easy as people think. Some people I could speak to it differently, are high energy, very vocal, love all that stuff, have zero cares about the finance. It doesn't phase them because the role that they're in, or the position that they play with whatever company or whoever they're working for, it's a little bit different. Or if it's all consignments, it doesn't matter, you're winning, you're losing. But it's not like that for us. I do think there's a little bit of like that kind of darker side of streaming for the mental piece. And I have spoke to some streamers who have kind of called it quits or had to pack it up because they couldn't do it, but they were streaming a long time. They were streaming 8 hours a day, getting off and then helping co-stream for another 4 hours, and doing that every single day. And man, that is a lot of camera time, a lot of time to be guest facing, a lot of time to like keep it together. It's tough because you can't go through all the emotions on camera. You can't be mad, you can't be angry, you can't crash out. You're gonna be on the wrong YouTube channels real fast. So I do think there's a huge aspect there that goes unnoticed or spoken about amongst all streamers.
So I guess to ask the follow-up question, what are the positives? Why do you do it? Why do you put up with some of the struggles or the difficulties around it?
I like it because I want to be like, I want to fight back. Like, I want to be like one of the good guys, like I want that. Like, I really genuinely care about the hobby and Pokemon. Like, I left an executive chef partner job to do this because I'm more passionate about this and this space, especially in today's time and market where everything is so like, there's so much negative. There's like fightings, there's store break-ins, there's a lot of negative that we see, or everything's super money focused. And it's like, hey, how about these cards are cool? Hey, let's have fun. Hey, let's collect. Hey, let's fill binders. Hey, let's do all that. Or like, people my age and now their kids are into Pokemon, and they're collecting with their kids. Like, that's all the stuff that I like. That's all the stuff that kind of gets me going for like streaming. And I get so mad when it's like, come on, Chad, bid this up. What are we doing, Chad? What are we doing? Come on, this is $500. This is $500. I don't like that. So I have a very, when I stream or when BB streams, it's a very like just positive, relaxed environment where you don't have to feel on eggshells. I don't like being pressured or like obligated to do something or bid or buy. So I don't like doing that to the audience either. And BB's the same. You'll never get like pushed or obligated or anything. Even when somebody's checking out, I tell people all the time, when you're checking out a high-end card, like, hey, this is a big commitment. Take your time. Take as much time as you need. It is first come, first serve. But don't feel obligated. Don't feel pressure. Don't feel any of that. Just hang out, have a good time. When you're ready, be ready. Make sure you're comfortable. I want everybody to leave happy. So I'm like, for me, that's what keeps me going or keeps me wanting to do it. I really want to create this like huge, happy, like entertaining, fun space for for everybody, like all ages. I don't care if you're 5 or 95. I want it available to everybody. I don't want to like push anybody out or anything like that. But I'm super passionate about that because I just I want to be like another one of the good guys like on the table that you can be okay with.
Yeah, I'll speak to it from maybe a little bit higher level view because as we approach this 1 year of us all being together and doing this as a unit, I think back to like, I think mentally part of the hardest, one of the hardest things was really just the growing, like we didn't start at 0 thanks to Chef because we all sort of hopped on board with his eBay Live, but to go from Chef, streaming a couple times a week to us trying to push 7+ streams a week for those who do want to get into streaming, like there is this whole, like you do have to build the audience and there is this mental side of it to like early on as you're building, it's not smooth sailing. It's not easy. Like you're going to try things, you're going to try new things. And when you try these new things, like they might not work. Like I remember we were pushing for trying to do pack rip only streams because there's other folks who have done it. And we were like, oh, like that's something people like to do. But then you quickly realize you fire up a pack rip only stream, you've been doing really single card auctions and then pack rips afterwards. And so you've sort of built up this audience that is more catered towards those auctions. Then all of a sudden you do a pack rip only stream and you have 3 viewers, you have 5 viewers, and you're used to having, 10x that. It's tough mentally. Like that is definitely tough. And it's really, you got to have some resilience, but you also have to not be afraid to try some things. And, maybe they don't work and then you just sort of pivot. But I think that's being resilient is necessary for sure. But that's not to say that, there aren't going to be some darker, harder times mentally as you're going through the growing and adapting process. So I think just thinking of it from a higher level and really reflecting on the last 12 months, that's definitely something that stands out for me on the hard side of things mentally. And then to speak to something on the positive side that Chef didn't speak to, because I agree with everything that Chef has already said, but really, again, I'm going to use the C word, but like building this community and like having fun, like hopping in, and I get to stream on Mondays and Tuesdays, and you see these same names popping up over and over and just having fun, like going in and having fun, like money aside, all those other things aside, like obviously this is still a business, but like getting to hop in. And I know someone had asked a question about parasocial relationships, and I think that's an interesting topic we can definitely speak a little bit more to. But like Chef and I both feel like we're just a guy. And I know that's probably how a lot of people who have parasocial relationships feel. But like the other thing is, and I don't want to get too deep down that rabbit hole, but like we are truly just guys. We're in our Discords, like we're chatting with people. And if you come up to us at a show, like we're going to talk to you. We don't ever feel higher, separate, above. It's really just like us going and hanging out with a bunch of people that just like to hang out. And so I think that like that joy that brings me, and the joy that it brings me for someone to be like, hey, I'm looking for this card. And I'm like, oh, I don't have it. And then the next week, maybe I went to a card show and I found that specific card at a show, and I bring it to stream. I'm like, hey, so-and-so, is this what you were looking for last week? And then they light up, I get to light up from it. So like, I think that just those little moments are something that is extremely, extremely positive when it comes to streaming.
Yeah, I think it is very rewarding to see like the same. We have like a good probably 30 people that show up every stream, and then it's everybody on top of like that core. And it's really cool to see people, even if they're just hanging out and they're not participating in the auctions or anything. It is cool to see that, and it is very rewarding to see I think like shout out to Jonesy in our Discord. He got a 2-pack blister, ripped a mega Dragonite out of Ascendant today. And it's like, it's cool to see that stuff. It's cool. Like in our Discord, I love seeing people's collections. I love hearing that Wild Card and Javos from the stream met up at a local show. And, they got a lot of encouragement from the stream to like go to their first local show. And like all of that stuff is Very, very, very rewarding. That's the stuff that I like. Again, creating like a safe Pokemon focused atmosphere is just awesome. I really, really love that big time.
Awesome answers, guys.
Mhm.
I am seeing a lot of great questions coming in. I guess just quickly to follow up on the other part of my question. How about on the financial side? Like, what have been the sides of this that you're like, wow, this is a really good business, and you can make a living doing this,
Mhm.
And then what are the parts where it's like, actually, this is like a really hard business. I didn't know how hard the business was going to be.
I think with the positive side, I think if you manage your stream and navigate your stream accordingly, it can be rewarding, or you can find a way how to be profitable on each one, which is very nice. Or having systems in place to kind of ensure a little bit of padding. For example, we have the split up between the dollar auctions, and we have fixed pricing, between packs and buy it now cards, and all that stuff helps for sure. Um, as far as like the negative, like it's highly competitive. And right now, like we're on a platform that's in the middle of trying to do a lot of things and expand and do all these, change things in the background. And every time there's a change, there's a new glitch, there's a new error, there's, people are having issues bidding, your stream crashes, you lag out, you get spread thin on the platforms. It's tough starting. It's tough. There's a lot of like really, really tough situations that happen on there, and some of it is just out of your control. And kind of to tie this back to the emotional part too, sometimes like when the platform is going through like growing pains and you get spread thin and you're on there, like sometimes you ask yourself, like, is it me? Is it me? Like, are they not enjoying myself? What am I doing? What am I doing? Trying to figure out like, hey, where is the disconnect at? And it's nothing that has to do with you, the stream, or the cards or anything. It's just the nature of the beast. So I think a lot of people want to jump out there and jump in full time. I do not think it is easy as it seems. I do not think like the average person can just make an account and just run with that. I think there's so many people at a higher level doing this and have so many more systems in place that give them the biggest advantage over you on any day. And it's almost like sitting at a poker table and you buy in with $100, but this guy's over here has got $50,000 on the table. He's going to eat you alive, and then it's going to be bye-bye, and then he can keep going. So I hate to see people jump in without knowing all the details in the background of how difficult it really is, or how difficult it is to stand out. And I don't think that a lot of the platforms really help or do a lot to help new sellers. So it's really on you to figure it out. And it's very challenging when you're trying to start a stream and you don't have your face on camera, or you're shy, you're scared, you're quiet. It is very tough to kind of get noticed on that. And that's a lot of the reality. On top of that, somebody might start a stream and, put $5,000, and this is what they're going to do. And they might get wrecked on that $5,000. And then what? Do they have another $5,000? Do they have, are they not going to crash out? Are they going to, I don't know, just run out of money? They're going to rebuy in? Are they going to try something different? It is not easy. It's funny. Like, I guess navigating, trying to leave the restaurant and do Pokemon full time, there are so many hurdles, so many roadblocks, so many different things that came up, and it was a lot of stuff like I didn't know. But now being in it full time, had I known everything and all the systems you have to have in place to do this, I would have been way more intimidated to start doing this, or think it could actually be a reality. Now I would have been so discouraged. So I'm glad I was like naive kind of going into it, and just had that resilience and stubbornness to kind of like go through that roadblock, and go through that roadblock, and try to figure it out. But it is incredibly, incredibly tough to start streaming.
Yeah, and piggybacking off what you were saying about, putting in $5,000, losing that, I think there's a couple strategies you could probably try to take to start up streaming. And you can go in solo. And what I'll say is, if you're viewing this from a financial lens, you probably should expect to lose a good chunk as you're building, especially as a solo effort. Like Chef said, you might get a little bit of help from whatever platform, regardless of the platform. You might get a little help at the beginning, but that help is only going to last for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And building up an audience on a streaming platform, if you don't already have an audience that exists, is a slow process.
Mm-hmm.
It is definitely a slow, grindy process. And so you have to be ready to go through that. I think on the flip side, we have some friends, and you see us having joined forces together as a group. You could try to, group up with some people, maybe do as we did and be able to leverage, Chef already had an eBay Live account. And so for us, we at least had the access to the platform. We already had some bit of an audience that was already built up thanks to Chef. And I know there are other, teams of people who have sort of used each other's audience to help sort of start off maybe one step ahead. Now, when I think of this from a financial lens, at least thinking about us, then you have to think about, okay, well, is everybody getting paid? If so, how much? Like, what sacrifice financially is everyone on the team willing to take? Mm-hmm. And so as you step into these conversations, working with friends is awesome. Like, I love all of these guys that we work with. There are, from the financial lens, like, there's a lot of things you got to consider. And so just really be aware of those, because again, like, you're probably going to lose some money in the beginning as you're building things up. And so make sure you have those conversations if you're getting into a group setting, if that's what it requires. But I'd say, like, that's probably one of the hardest things financially, is really just getting off the ground, because it takes money. It takes money to get all of this up. You got to get your inventory, your initial inventory. You have to keep cycling through inventory. And so in a market that we exist in right now, where you have plenty of people buying at like crazy high percentages, and they can get away with it because maybe they are selling at 120% on their streams, and you have to compete with those people. So you need to have reliable channels to actually source cards as well, so that you aren't drowning in a negative return on that money that you're putting out. And so just considering all of these things, like, as the market ebbs and flows, you need to be agile as well. And so being able to adapt quickly and tweak your buying strategy, tweak your selling strategy, like, you have to be very agile in this type of endeavor. And so just beware with that. But on the positive side, like, at the point we are, we're a profitable business. And like, that in itself is just crazy to think back. I mean, we have all of these people, we have all of these different things that we're involved in, including the streaming, including the Ace Trainer slab box. It's like, we have all of these things that we're doing, and people like Chef, who are full-time, needing to get paid to actually support their family, yet we're still a profitable business. And so to even just be able to say that is truly, like, awesome and a blessing. And so when we look at the, can it be done? I think that's the huge positive of, like, we're showing ourselves, yes, this can be done. And so I think, like, that alone in itself is just a huge, huge positive.
Yeah. I think if anybody out there is trying to start something like this, I would highly recommend you stay on the grind. You keep your full-time job, which is what I did, and then streamed when you could, and try to get those systems in place. Because if you got to have packing supplies, you got to have thermal printers, you got to have a consistent source of inventory that you can supply yourself every week, and buying at percentages that make sense for your business. We're in a market today where it's extremely competitive to buy inventory, and majority of people out there are buying at ridiculous numbers. And it's you come in and you're trying to do a number that is proper for your business, or that's the math for your business, and it's tough. So I know when I got started, I was frustrated. I was like, well, how do I do this? How do I get my tax EIN number so I can buy things tax free? Okay, what thermal printer do I use? What labels do I use? What size packaging? bubble mailers, boxes, what's most cost effective, but what also you don't want to sacrifice on, making something look bad. I can't stand when I get a card in the mail and it's in an envelope. So like, how do I not do that, but also work that into the math? Again, buying the cards, doing all that. So for me, when I was balancing like the chef job and Pokemon, dude, it was a grind. It was 7 days a week, all the time. If I wasn't in the restaurant, which obviously that takes a dramatic amount of time and energy from you in mental space. I'm a father, I'm a husband. You got that. And then I was streaming. And then when you're not streaming, you're sourcing, you're packing orders, you're doing all sorts of stuff. I remember not this past one, but the one before Thanksgiving week, and trying to put on a big stream, building the eBay account up. And I worked like 10 days straight in the restaurant, had a Thanksgiving shift, left the Thanksgiving shift at night after working like 12 hours. It was 12 to 14 hours. I went straight from there in my chef clothes to go close a deal on inventory so I could stream the next day, and have that available. And then it's like packing those orders right after that. And then it's, guess what? You're back to the chef job. So if you want to do it, I highly recommend you keeping your main source of income until you build your brand or stream up to where you have that option. But it is a grind. It is not easy at all, but you do have to have all these systems in place, and it's tough to figure that out on your own. But once you do, you're good.
But also using what you've gone through, Chef, as an example, it's like you were in a restaurant. And so the best times to be streaming are also the best times to be working in the restaurant, because that's when the restaurant's making its money, is 100%. Those same peak times of streaming. And so like, as you're considering the balance of your life too, maybe you think streaming is going to be fun and going to be something you enjoy, but also just like consider if you have a 9 to 5, that's a lot different than having a full-time job that requires you to be working at peak times that would actually be most profitable for your business as well. And so weighing something like that is going to be extremely important as well.
Yeah, when I started, I used to leave the restaurant on like Friday, Saturday night and start up eBay Live at 11 o'clock p.m. because I was trying to catch the weekends and I couldn't really do that. And then that wasn't like too great, but it kind of worked in my favor a little bit. Like I used it to my advantage because I was new to streaming and I didn't know like everything going on or what to do. So I used it as like practice at the same time. But then I would have to like switch it up. That's where like I started doing like Sundays at noon. And then I would like have, request days off or kind of switch with my sous chef here and there. I could never get like a consistent schedule when I was doing the chef life because it's the exact same hours. When you stream, if you stream, it's like a restaurant job. You work when everybody's playing, and that's what it is. So it does conflict with each other all the time. It was definitely a challenge, but yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, and on the flip side of that, like for me, I do still work full time, but I do have a quote standard 9 to 5, and so it works out for me in that I can do my quote normal job and still after work stream on Monday and Tuesday nights. Now, does it make for long 14, 15-hour days, whatever it may be? Like, sure. Yeah. And, planning for that also needs to be taken into account. And like you said, like packing orders is not quick. It takes time. And it's going to vary depending on like, are you selling slabs? Are you doing pack rips? Are you selling only singles? Because size of package and amount of care you have to put into, like extra care you have to put into a package is going to differ depending on what you're packing up, but it takes time. And so trying to be diligent and getting that out the next day is not always easy. And so you also just have to balance all of that, making sure you're staying organized. I mean, I'm lucky that my wife helps me pack orders, and so we can be a little bit more efficient, but like just keeping something like that in mind as well. It's not just like, oh yeah, I stream Monday and Tuesday night, and like since I'm working during the day, it's fine. But like you also have to consider you have to pack those orders at some point. So you're going to be either losing sleep or trying to figure out something else.
A lot of good points there, guys.
And I have to step away for just a couple minutes. I'll be right back. Yeah.
Okay, no problem. So like as Redcore makes a good comment, and then there are a lot of great questions. We'll get to your guys' questions in a second. that most small businesses go 4 to 5 years before they turn a profit. Like, I think what's different about trying to build a business in Pokemon versus flipping and reselling cards that you're in control over is that, or investing and speculating on cards, the things that most people in this space do, is that those things are sort of quick, depending on your model. They're much easier, they're much quicker, and they're much lower risk. And you don't have to build any audience. You don't have to build any connections. You don't have to build any back-end tracking systems, and you don't have to do any customer service. Like, there's all sorts of complex business things that it takes time to build up. It takes time to get those processes in order. What I will say about streaming is that the attractive part about streaming is the relatively low overhead, other than the streamer. So just for people to think about, and the ease, the ability that people can do it from all different places and can do it from their home computer, and the potential of building an audience, or the amount of people that you can potentially connect with and build, and then the amount of revenue that you can generate from streaming versus the amount of overhead is extremely attractive. The only other thing that can rival it is like wholesaling, buying collections and then wholesaling those collections to another reseller. The only thing that can rival the amount of quantity that we can move, the speed at which we can move it, and particularly once you build an audience, and you can build a large audience. The hard part is that you can actually lose a lot of money. High revenue does not mean profit. If we went live and we ran a bunch of $1,000 cards, we'd make a lot of money, or we'd make a lot of revenue, excuse me. But we would probably lose a lot of money. And we'd have a pretty big audience, and there'd be a lot of people buying those cards for $500-$600, and we would have a large revenue number, but we would go out of business very quickly. And so the potential there, if you're good at it, if you know how to run cards, and if you can find that balance where you can sell at 90%, 95%, which we probably sell at something like that, you can run a business around a pretty high revenue. The amount of revenue that this business has been able to accomplish in 1 year, getting to 1.5-2 million revenue, took our physical stores, like the multiple physical stores that we run, took years to build that, and with much more overhead. Now the profit and the margin is much tougher on streaming. So yeah, there are pluses and minuses to all of these things. It is a real business, and it's hard. And you have to think of it like a business, particularly if you're going to work with other people, and you're going to pay salaries, and you're going to have workflows. And so I think all that is really important. And to Red Corn's part, like, it's very common for businesses to take a while to build up a customer base, to build up and to figure out what they're doing. I mean, we've had a various, our own, I think everyone here, both Chef and BB, and then, me as a co-owner. Chef and BB are also owners of the business. We all own this business, but, doing a lot of the back end, a lot of the sourcing, a lot of the strategizing, there's so much to learn. And these things take time, and but to BB's point, there's a real satisfaction and a pride in building something that becomes profitable, that can even pay our salaries, versus working by ourselves and kind of going from one deal to the next, making money from one deal to the next, that a lot of us have started with in our sort of Pokemon entrepreneurship journeys. And then, as well, just to reiterate points that these guys made, I think all three of us, we wanted to do something that we felt was enjoyable, and that we were then able to enjoy the hobby with other people, both as a team, but also with our audiences and our clients. We don't want to feel like we're taking advantage, like we're creating, like we're predatory, or we're needing to push people, or any of that sort of thing. And in order to build a business the right way, it takes a long time. It's not easy to be profitable when you're not pushing the audience to spend more, when you're not doing drama, you're not out there causing a lot of drama to get a lot of social media clicks, right? You're building it one positive interaction at a time, one 100% feedback at a time. But that's something that you can be proud of, and has a certain kind of stability to it that businesses built other ways will not have. So whatever you do in the space, I encourage people, not only is it better for the hobby in general and for other people in general, but also I think for yourself in the long run.
I do think, to stay on the challenging part, I do think it is tough to build an audience the way that kind of we're doing it, because we aren't crashing out, we aren't freaking out, we aren't on the headlines, we don't have like the rage bait, we don't have any of that stuff. And that's the stuff that people like to see, that stuff. People like to see the gossip, the news, and I feel like we are going about it as most ethical way possible, versus competing with everybody who's not. And it's the same thing with how we run our business. Like, we're very well in tune with our finances in the background, and I would argue that the vast majority couldn't tell you what they got going on with their finances in the background. And then you're competing with that. You're competing with people who are YOLOing, and they don't know if they're bleeding money or not. And they're throwing up, all sorts of cards up there, and they're just kind of cycling. And then before you know it, it's gone. But it's tough. It's tough when that's your competition. And trying to, keep up with that, for sure.
Yeah. And one interesting thing about that point, though, is like going back to, the market we live in right now is you can actually get away with that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's riskier behavior, and, maybe it's paying off now, but how long does it pay off for? Yeah. And so part of it is really weighing that risk. Mm-hmm. I mean, you could also just like Jake said, you could sit there and you could sell hundreds or thousands of dollars in a night. And just because your revenue number is high, like if you're losing on that,
right,
what's that doing for you? Yeah. I mean, sure, you might be building an audience that's coming in because they can get cards at 50% of market and they're happy about it. But as soon as that goes away, if they're not able to come in and get cards at that cheap of a price, then, maybe you don't have those folks around anymore. And you can also ask yourself, like, are those the types of folks that we want around? Mm-hmm. Whereas for us, it's not necessarily focused on all of that. It's more so like, let's build a good, safe community, like space for people to come in and enjoy, and actually just like enjoy the hobby. I think that's like really the baseline of what we're looking for is come in. We're going to be very trustworthy. Obviously, we're going to earn your trust through our actions, but like, we want you to come in, have a good time, and just be able to enjoy the hobby. Because, going to the title of this, there are streams where, maybe things aren't the best. And, the word scam is thrown around a lot. I think Chuck said something earlier about like, it's lost its luster a little bit, but like there truly are like scam type behavior out there when it comes to live streams. And for us, like, we're trying to do the exact opposite of that. We're trying to be as ethical and transparent and forward as possible, and build a space where people can come in and just enjoy the actual hobby.
Yeah, and we've demonstrated in a year that you can take that model and make it profitable. Mm-hmm. And I think in the future, it's we hope we can sustain that and we can keep doing this. Mm-hmm. But I think I know I had fears this year that it wouldn't be profitable to not push your audience to like going into this space when you see the people making the most money often. Mm-hmm. But I think the other part of us is that we're not we're a resilient bunch of guys who are definitely ambitious and competitive, but like mm-hmm. also very ethical. And so mm-hmm. there's that conflict between we want to grow and we want to do something great and we want to find a lot of these people and attract a lot of these people and do something with a lot of people, but it has to be done a certain way. and we'll get as far as that allows us, but we'd be much happier, wherever that goes, we'll be satisfied with, because it's really about putting in the work and being resilient and doing things the right way at the end of the day, trusting that process. So.
And that is very challenging, like what you just said, balancing those two things, because you can make a lot of money and sort of let the ethics and morals sort of go out the window, and you can probably make a ton more money.
Yeah.
But for us, again, obviously we're a business and we want to make money, but that's not what our focus is. Like, we want to do this the right way. And so, there's multiple ways you can go about it, but doing what we're doing, it takes the resilience, it takes the hard work, it takes the time, it takes the grind. But I mean, what we're hoping for and what we think is going to be the case is, when we look back we're approaching year 1 now. What happens when we look back at year 2, year 3, year 5? I think the growth that we're going to see, because of just doing it the right way and doing it with ethics from the start, even if it's not going to get us, what is it, like a fast time versus a slow nickel? Like, maybe we're getting the slow nickel instead, which is fine, because it's going to help us to build exactly what we're looking to build.
Agreed.
Absolutely. All right, so let's get to some questions. Thanks to everybody for hanging out with us and watching and being patient. Hopefully it's been interesting and enjoyable. I know it's Chef's and BB's first time on this channel, so it's great. I'm sure for my audience, or for people just kind of stumbling on this video, or coming to us from eBay Live, or through some of our other socials, just to get a sense of who these guys are and hear them speak. All right. If you guys are in a Discord, I'll just say again, we do. We have a Discord. Come hang out with people there. Again, these are great tools. Things like Discords are great tools for people to then have more conversations, meet more people. And then when you start going to shows, you recognize people, people, you develop a rapport and a comfort. And so then everything becomes more enjoyable. Hanging out in the chat, hanging out with people you recognize, it all becomes more enjoyable. So definitely, would encourage, and that's a free Discord, unlike my Patreon. That's a free Discord that is about hanging out and enjoying the hobby.
And on that point, real quick, Jake, I can't share a link because I'm not a mod, but if there's a mod in chat who can share a link, or honestly, if you just go to our Card and All Instagram page, you can also access the Discord through that page.
Yep. Okay. Let's see. So Michael says scamming, no taking advantage of. Yes. I think the notion of scamming versus kind of doing stuff that is icky or makes a lot of us cringe. There's definitely depends how we're defining these words. I think there are people literally committing fraud that they would go to jail if it could be proven that they were saying things that weren't true, or they were stealing, or I've heard stories of people selling a card that they didn't actually own and then going out and buying it, or switching out good conditions with bad conditions, or, with the rip and ships, the documented history of sort of, specific frauds around that. I think that's a minority. I think the majority of what icks us out, first of all, so many streamers are great. And we're definitely not here to say there aren't plenty of good streamers. So, but the streams or streamers that, in environments that we are talking about, or, that some of these questions get to, I think, and I said this earlier, but what always bothered me was it's the predatory, it's using the parasocial relationship to financially benefit the streamer and to hurt the audience. So it's any sort of thing that feels like I'm pushing this person to spend money when they wouldn't have, or to spend more money than they're comfortable with, and I think there's a gray line, it's a gray line. But I think some streamers go over that line for me a lot, not all the time, but or constantly come up to that line and make comments. And, both of Chef and BB you know, have done things where I'm like, "Oop, careful," you know, where I feel, you know, because we just lost $100 on a card, and chef's thinking, "Oh my God, you know, we got to pay salaries, everyone," you know, and it's a very hard job, and it really takes these guys like a ton of commitment from these guys and from our whole team. You know, we've lost thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on like that booster box we opened at eBay Live. Like, you know, there's all sorts of things that we've lost a lot of money on and smile through and not let the audience know and try to continue that good experience. And like all of that effort and ethics and work, I think there are a lot of other streamers and a lot of other businesses in the space that do that too. Yeah, it's something we take seriously. We pride ourselves on, and it's easy to say, but it's about showing up and doing it for years. That's how you build an audience and build a reputation.
And going back to something you just said, Jake, because you were speaking to people sort of being a parasite on their audience and making them sort of overspend, not necessarily on an individual card, but like goading them into spending more than they should be. And I know and I'm really actually thinking to a couple of examples of Chef, where Chef has literally said, like, no, you're cut off. Like, you are not buying any more tonight. Like, you need to stop. Like, we will tell the audience, smart spending. We always speak smart spending. It's on our banner. And if we see people getting to that point where they are getting caught up in the moment, it's literally like, hey, take a breath.
Yeah, slow down. Or
as we might say, squirt bottle, you know, get the squirt bottle out. To you know, just have someone to stop and think for a second, because we're not here to sit there and, you know, milk people for their money. We're here to just we're here to, again, create an environment where people are actually just enjoying the hobby. And maybe they enjoyed in that moment where they're buying a bunch of stuff and feel good because they're spending money, and then they wake up the next day and they're like, oh, I just spent way too much money. And then
I think our theory is that we can still make money by creating that type of environment, that it's not a conflict. So, you know, and that, you know, commitment to creating that over a long period of time, you can build a business and make money off of that.
And we always say it's a marathon, not a sprint. Pokemon's a marathon, not a sprint. And that's, you know, a common phrase, but it really is. You can't just go out there and collect them all. You can't do it. You can't catch them all. It's tough. People try to, I think there's, this is something else like I wanted to make a video about, but I think there's patterns of buyers and patterns of behaviors for people jumping into the hobby, and they go through like different stages. And you'll like, sometimes I could pick up on somebody being, you know, an adult jumping back into the hobby. They're very excited and they're just flying through, you know, the cards and buying a lot. So it's always like, hey, make sure we're okay. Pokemon's not a, you know, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. Everybody bid responsibly, things like that. And we won't like call anybody out or say anything, but for sure we do try to steer everybody in the right behavior, so people don't wake up the next day and be like, man, you know, you don't want anybody, again, the main goal is everybody leaves happy. All the guests leave happy. You don't want somebody feeling like buyer's remorse the next day, or like, man, I shouldn't have done all that. Or, you know, I like seeing responsible people in our streams and seeing them come back in the repeat business. I'd rather like the slow trickle, have your budgets, have everything. Like the cards will come back. Like we'll get another copy. We'll do something like Pokemon's here. Have fun, relax. Don't get caught up. Sometimes you'll have somebody kind of snitch on themselves a little bit. They might have a drink or two, or it's real late and you kind of see the patterns and chat, you know, shift a little bit, and everything's still appropriate and fun and happy, but you can kind of tell. So you're always like, hey, make sure you're all right. You're good. This is all right. And you move forward. But keeping everything, you know, in everybody's best interest. And I think that's, I always say counter salesman, you know, here, counter salesman chef here. I'm sorry. And then I'll tell them my real opinion on something and try to make sure they're okay and they're responsible and doing all the things. But it is counterproductive to the to the business side. But
yeah. Well, and I think in the long run it's not. And I think that's the hardest part. Like that is the hardest part to dedicate yourself to. Yeah. Is that in the long run it's not, because what you're doing is you're creating ongoing customers and clients who have a good experience with us and then are a patron of us for a long time. And And for every one of those, we're not trying to make $1,000 on a one-off.
Right.
We got that guy, and then they disappear.
Yeah.
But it takes commitment to the moment, right, Chef? Every moment in stream, there's committed to putting that into action, kind of one interaction at a time. And part of your skill, and similar to a bartender or to a restaurateur, right, is how do you manage a crowd? How do you manage the customers, right? If customers are getting rowdy, if customers are being rude to each other, if customers are overspending, over drinking, over eating, whatever, like there are lines there, and a really savvy streamer or savvy professional knows how to not embarrass someone,
right,
and how to kind of help them behave in a way that's best for themselves and for everyone there. But and these are all things, Chef's a much better streamer now than he was a year ago. Of course, BB's a much better streamer now, and they'll be much better streamers in a year from now and 2 years from now. It's a skill set that I think comes from doing it over and over again.
It's also extremely challenging to manage your chat and not make it awkward at the same time. It is, people come in and the vibe will change immediately, or somebody will just say something in the chat or be inappropriate or like rude at each other. Like two people will kind of get into it on accident, or like there's a number of things that could come up in there. And then to try to keep everything like together without anything getting awkward and still continuing on, it is that part is not easy. And I think a lot of people, especially nowadays, a lot of people have issues with like some like confrontation or like regulating things, and you see a lot of streamers just kind of shy away and look the other way at that stuff, to whereas BB and I, we do not, and I think we do a pretty good job about keeping everything in line and not having like those awkward moments or anything like that. And I think also now we've done that so much that it's few far in between now. Something rarely ever happens. We're very fortunate to have a good group that shows up all the time. And then it seems like when new people jump in, our group again is our champion, and they're super welcoming to the next guy. So I think people catch on to those vibes. And especially like when you nip something or something's inappropriate, and, BB and I will kind of say something or delete that comment. And hey, we're just trying to keep it nice here, PG-ish, family. You don't know who's here, who's not here. People are very like, I think they respect that a lot. I think that most of the time, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know, really, really sorry, and all that stuff. And then they're great. They're awesome people like the rest of the time. And then they kind of join with everybody else and kind of chime in and stuff. So yeah, few far in between now, but it is not an easy task, but we're definitely very fortunate to have a good group now.
But also shout out to our chat, because they will also go to bat and let people know when they come in what we're trying to foster in our live streams. So shout out to them too.
Yeah, big time shout out to our group.
This might be like a bit tongue in cheek, but Cards says, if you don't yell at chat, how will they know what to buy?
Yeah, I didn't consider that actually. It's a good strategy. I'm gonna think on that one for a little bit.
We're gonna say you're buying this.
What do you think is the biggest or most common scam in live stream selling currently?
Oh, from the buyer or from the seller? I'll speak, I guess, to both. From the buyer, the number one, now thankfully eBay kind of rolled this out this week where you can't cancel, but the number one thing that would happen, oh, my kid had my phone, and they would cancel the orders. There's a lot of red flags you see. Again, patterns of behavior within streaming. I see a new buyer in there, never seen them before, and they just start going crazy on high end and just buy. I know there's like something going on there. I know either they're going to try and charge it back, or they're going to try and cancel immediately, or it's like, my account was hacked, or the number one reason that I see is, my kid had my phone. Sorry, my kid had my phone. Really, at 10 o'clock on a Saturday night, or like on a school night, it's Wednesday at 11 o'clock. I don't know if your kid is on eBay Live with your cell phone. I don't see a lot of kids having their parents' phones nowadays. Usually it's like a tablet if they have something or stuff like that. But from the seller, I would think the number one most common scam is like the sellers canceling on the buyers on the flip side, where they get a card for cheap, and I think sellers will cancel that. I lost it. Oh, sorry, it got damaged, and do that. I think it should be fair. Like I do like how they change it to where you cannot cancel items on auctions anymore on eBay. But I do like the argument. I do like the other side where I don't think the seller should be able to do that to the buyer either. If they get that card, if you run a $50 card and they get that sucker for $5, you better send it, man. That is not their fault at all. That is, you're responsible for your stream. You need to navigate your stream, run your business, your stream. It's your responsibility. So I don't like that sellers will do that at all. So I do think, to give the buyers kind of a win, I do think it should be a little bit fair from them. But I do think that would be my opinion on what's the most common scam, so to speak, or switching out the cards, like Jake said.
Yeah, I was going to say, it really depends how you define scam, because I could see psychological manipulation itself, if you want to label that as a scam, probably being like most prevalent amongst streamers. And I think this covers a lot of things we've already talked about, whether it's like goading people into bidding on things that they shouldn't be bidding on, or yelling, saying, this is this price card, or not even yelling, just saying this card is worth at least this much, knowing outright that you're lying.
Yeah.
And I think it's that type of manipulation, if you want to view that as a scam, is I would guess that's probably the most prevalent thing you're going to see out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's quite prevalent, and I think it's and to Bondo's point before, I think that's why most people don't go on streams, and why most people, when they hear the word streamers or streams, have a negative thought instead of like, oh, that's so like some of my favorite people in the hobby stream Pokemon, like, and I think similar to the slab products, that were built. Like, I think there's lots of things that for good reason, people have that kind of just gut reaction to around. And the way you change those gut reactions is by action. So yes, us saying it and stating our purpose and stating our intention can be helpful in sort of selling it verbally, but how you really do it is through action, through long periods of time, and people, demonstrating and following through. And so that's what we've, done for a year, and we'll, continue to do. But yeah, I think the amount, it does stun me, the amount of people who streamers and chats who there's this energy, there's this vibe in the streams, in those chats, where it's like, I don't know, it's like some of the buyers are trying to get one over on the seller, and the seller's trying to get one over on the buyer. It's like this. It's a really uncomfortable. It's a gross. It's like, who wants to be in that? But a lot of people do, and I think that's one of the mysteries of sort of what's going on there. What is attracting people to those sorts of environments? And part of it is I think they just like haven't come to us. They haven't been in our live streams. They haven't like met us. They think that's like normal and just the way it is, and they like Pokemon, and they want to be around Pokemon, and they want an access to buy it, and they want to be in live streams and hang out with people, and they have relationships and
yeah, and I think that's actually a challenge for the buyers too, is because it's something we see a lot in our streams, where it's like people go through a lot of streams trying to find one that they actually like.
Yeah,
and it might actually take them a while to find one that they like. And so like, how many of those people are testing it out? Like, hey, I want to see, what is this live streaming all about? Like, as a consumer, and maybe they have a couple of bad experiences, and that keeps them away. But we have so many people that are like, oh, I just came from, other streams and they were awful, but like, I love it here. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, sometimes it's really just a matter of someone actually walking in the door, and just, it's a little bit of luck, and just like hoping that they end up clicking on your stream out of all the others. Now, obviously, there's tactics you can have with your thumbnails and all these other things that we could speak to. But yeah, just thinking from the buyer's perspective, like that in itself is a challenge as well. Just trying to actually find the good streams that fit well to you. And like, maybe it's not even a scammy streamer. Maybe they just aren't that entertaining. Maybe they just don't fit the vibe that you want. Like, people come in and just talk about how chill we are. And some people don't want a chill stream. And, that's totally fine too. We're not going to be who we aren't. And I tell people when they're in stream, I'm like, hey, you want chill vibes and just like good audience, having fun, listening to some old retro video game music, because that's basically what I play the whole time. And hey, shout out Ace. We've even mixed in some like 90s cartoons themes and things like that. But like, if that doesn't suit your style, then like that's fine. I'm not gonna be mad if you go find something that you like as well. But yeah, it's tough for the buyers too. I'll give it to them.
It's tough to find it is tough to find it's a streamer that you like. It's almost like Avatar. You gotta match your ponytail to another person. But once you find that streamer that you really like, then it gets fun. I think like the first like couple weeks or a month, it's just like, I don't know if I like that. I don't know like that. I know that's what it was for me. I knew when I saw streaming coming up, I was really intrigued by it from the restaurant. I'd get out of the restaurant and I would go through multiple platforms and everything. And it wasn't until I found like Nick and Weedle that I was like, oh, I was like, this is awesome. And I only watched them, and that was it for the longest. And it got really fun after that. And it was just more being able to like hang out, have fun, like Pokemon vibes, all that. So I do think once you find that streamer that you gravitate to or kind of fits your personality, that's when streaming gets fun, especially when that streamer backs it up with the ethical side and takes care of you and all that. Then it's full circle after that. Then you keep it going.
Okay. How do you Christoph asks, how do you deal with the parasocial relationships you form when your livelihood depends on financial transactions with viewers? Great question. Really great question.
This is a phenomenal question. Yeah, this is the one I referenced earlier, and it's not an easy thing to. I mean, it's not the easiest thing in the world to balance. I'll just say that. And this idea of parasocial relationships is just something that's always fascinated me. As someone who, like I'm a part of Jake and Dan's Patreon, and so like I remember watching their videos and watching other people's videos and like being very aware. Like I watch a lot of YouTube, I watch a lot of things, and these parasocial relationships are everywhere. And just as like a psychological phenomenon, it's just like very intriguing to me. But now like being on the other side of that, at least to some point, and again, like I still view myself as just like some guy, but there's a lot of people that, have parasocial relationships that do view themselves as like just another guy. Right. And so there is this balance that really needs to be had. I think for us, we're fortunate in that we're not huge. Mm-hmm. And so I don't think it's as drastic as a lot of other people have to deal with. And like I said, like, if you want to come and say hello to us, and like, I think it was Seattle last year, we went to Card Party and we actually had a couple of people who come into the live streams and buy things, and they came out to dinner with us. And so like trying to foster those relationships in and outside of the streams helps a little bit with the parasocial piece of it. But then, like you said, when you layer in this financial aspect of it, it becomes a little bit more challenging. But I think for us, with the focus not being on like, when I have a viewer in the stream, I'm not viewing them as a customer. I'm viewing them as like a piece of our family, a piece of our community. Like there are plenty of people that we tell everybody this, but there's plenty of people that just come in the streams and literally just hang out. And there'll be people that make comments of like, oh, I want this, but I shouldn't because of XYZ. And we're always just like, literally, y'all, don't buy a single thing. Don't place a single bid when you're in here. We love when you just come and hang out. And so I think making sure that we're focusing on the right things really helps us to navigate this very complex topic for sure.
I think for me, it is a balance, but I'm always in their favor. Like I genuinely want what's kind of best for them. And I feel like buyers will come. So when we get to know somebody or a regular in the chat, like I really want, if they want to bid, if they don't want to bid, hang out. I want whatever's best for you. Because I do want the repeat business or the repeat tap in, whether it's the hangout or bid. It is tough. Livelihood depends on it. But for me, it's like, I kind of trust the process. I trust that we're building something. I trust that we're gaining new buyers to it. Going back to, I think it's the streamer's responsibility to navigate that stream profitable every time. So, you know, you got guys that are just hanging out. Okay, navigate it to whatever is going on. Every stream is different. Every 30 minutes of every stream is different. The average view time is what, 8 to 10 minutes. So it's constantly shifting on you, and you constantly have to adapt. But for me, I don't get hyper focused on it. I kind of trust the process. I navigate the streams through each one, and we're trying to grow the business. We're trying to attract new buyers. So I feel like all of that kind of works itself out a little bit.
Yeah, I'd say you're not giving yourself enough credit though, because I think what you're saying about like trusting the process, it is your process that is actually making it so that the financials do still work out. Because like you said, you need to learn how to navigate the stream. And so we focus on the people, but in the background, mentally, we're like, we know that this is a craft, and we've honed this craft over an amount of time, right? And so being able to really just rely on that skill set to help take care of the financial piece of it, so we can really devote energy to focusing on the people. And so really marrying the two together and having that process, having that craft that you've built is really what helps you to keep all of this in balance.
Yeah, I mean, I think with social media, it's natural that there are people who, you know, create a lot of entertaining content or create a lot of, you know, interesting, intellectually stimulating content, or who, you know, create great environments and are fun and you know, like you know, on streaming. And I think it's natural for people to for that person to become popular, right? And for people to, there be a number of people who like, they're like, wow, you know, I really like what that person does, and I just think they're great. And when a lot of people have that sentiment, but you know, you're not necessarily interacting with those people on a day-to-day basis, then a lot of the time, I think the person's character really shows. What do they do with that? Do you take advantage of that and, you know, do kind of predatory things to try and get a lot from those people? Or do you get a big head about it, and do you really think you're better than other people? Do you start looking down on people? Do you start only hanging out with other famous people or popular people? Like, you know, like the way PokeTubers, like some PokeTubers, super down to earth, nice people. Other PokeTubers, extremely full of themselves and kind of big jerks when they're in public. Like, you know, like, and everywhere in between, right? And no one person is one thing. They're different things in different moments and different environments, right? So, you know, there are ways of being very ethical, knowing that people, you know, are excited to see you and trust you. Like there's a trusting relationship that you can then like take advantage of, right? You know, you don't do that one interaction at a time. Like, you know, for me, I've had, you know, hundreds of people come up to me over the years and say, you know, this and that. And of course I could be like, yeah, I am great. You know, here's a course or something, you know, like, you know, or I
courses were from the 2020, 2021 boom, not the 2020.
Yeah, or I can say, hey, you know, I repeat myself a lot. I'm glad it's been meaningful to you. You know, I have enjoyed doing it. You know, it's always nice when someone comes up to me, and I really appreciate you, and trying to just like also just make that person feel really good. But like, thank you for taking a moment to tell me about the content that I created and what it did for you. Like trying to create a nice moment between two human beings around something that you know, that's out there that, you know, and I think there are people who are, they have a lot of class and they have character around that. And then people who they really struggle with that. And maybe they've had issues with being bullied themselves and issues of not being popular and issues of not being liked. And now they're like this famous YouTuber. And now it's like, you know, and they're going to bully others and, gatekeep others, and there's a lot of weird social dynamics in this hobby, in this space. But I think most of us, like, we're just kind of, we like pop culture stuff, and we just want to be around other people who like pop culture stuff. Like, it's not super deep, and and people who offer us any way to do that, we appreciate, we look up to, we pedestal at times. But yeah, from a specific business sense, like Christoph, like, obviously on the stream, like, if someone trusts us, we could start scamming, right? We could probably get away longer with doing some sort of fraudulent behavior, because they would give us the benefit of the doubt and all these things. And so what you do is you don't do that anyway. You're honest for honesty's sake and ethics sake also. It's like, you're not just playing manipulative game theory where you're like, well, if I'm kind, then people will think I'm kind, and so eventually I can start to lie. Like, you don't do things like that, right? You hold yourself as a human being to a higher standard. Okay. Unctrimps, do you ever struggle with the feelings that what you're doing or the platform you're using may be predatory or enabling and encouraging bad behavior or decisions?
I do not. I don't feel like I'm enabling or encouraging any bad decisions or behavior, and I feel good even being able to say that. I do feel like, we kind of touched on that earlier. We do steer them to try to be as responsible as possible and keep it at like a marathon versus a sprint. So I don't feel or struggle with any types of feelings regarding any of that. I feel like also, everybody's their own person and they make their own decisions, and you can only control what you can control. And I can't control, their habits from what I do. I can only, navigate the conversations of the auctions accordingly. And that's it. So I don't dwell in that space at all. I truly feel like everybody's their own person. Everybody makes their own decisions, and I'm here to facilitate and have fun and do Pokemon. And I do my best to try to make sure everything's cordial across between buyer and seller, and making sure everything's just, just nice, and we're not going crazy or anything like that. So I don't feel any discouragement as far as that.
Yeah, I'd say the feelings aren't absent, but I don't think we struggle with them necessarily. Right. Because our focus is on being as honest, ethical, and transparent as possible, that it's not a worry that we really need to have. But I like the part of this where you're asking about platforms, because outside of our actions, maybe there are things that are happening platform wide or across other platforms that then do sort of put you in this weird position. Now, I will say we stream with eBay, and I think for the most part, like, eBay's been great when it comes to this specific topic. And, a lot of the negative things you hear do come from other platforms. Now, those platforms are a lot bigger. And so just by like virtue of more numbers means you're probably going to hear bad things about those platforms with a greater frequency. But given, I think eBay's technically still in its beta, if I'm not mistaken, after like 3 years now. I think that's helped. But, as a thought experiment, it is an interesting thing to think about, of like, what happens if maybe not just like one thing, but there's this pattern of things that does end up happening, where there is this encouragement of bad behavior, or there is some sort of fraud or whatever it may be. Where do we go from there? Because it's tough. I mean, we've talked already earlier about building up an audience is not easy. And sure, you could go to another platform that you feel, maybe is a little bit more ethical, and you don't have to face those issues of the platform branding itself. But then you're still you're starting a lot farther behind than where you just left off from the other platform. And so it's something that we've thankfully not had to really think about with eBay, but it's not something we're oblivious to either, I would say. But eBay's also they're pretty stringent on what they do and don't allow. And so I think us starting this business on eBay, knowing that from the jump, it just makes you a lot more confident just diving in and doing this anyways.
Yeah, I think my frustration is like, why don't we get more notoriety from eBay, from any of the other platforms, and why don't they care? Like, they don't seem to care enough about like ethics, like the people who are doing things the right way. Like, so I think it's bad. It's unfortunate for like the whole industry, because it there's just so many people who will just have such a irrationally negative feeling about streaming anything because of the platforms not managing who they let on initially. And again, eBay's way later to the game, and is doing, I think, the best job that we think of who they're letting on. But like, just because you have a lot of positive feedback, you can watch some people and they're pushing their, it's all the stuff that is just like bad. Like, and if I were in charge of eBay Live, I would absolutely say you cannot push your audience to pay higher. You cannot push them to bid up. Like, you can't use those sales tactics. Like, we don't do stuff like that. That's not, we don't work with sellers who will do stuff like that. But no platform has ever gone down that route. And instead they're getting over convoluted, in my opinion, on these boxes, and things like that. It's it's like the big issue is staring, in my opinion, everyone right in the face on these apps. It's predatory sales practices, not scamming and fraud, just predatory sales practices. And how do we have like a conversation about that and not do it? Because frankly, when other people are doing it, it makes it harder to then not do it, because it works, right? There's a reason why people are doing it, because it chews people up and spits them out. They don't build audiences of people who have good relationships with them, but they find new people, right? And then it chews up and spits a lot of people out, and it sucks. Like, it's bad. But for us, yeah, I mean, it's something I'm always worried. I'm always concerned about. I'm always thinking about. I one interaction at a time whenever I'm interacting and doing things.
And just one more note, I think we haven't talked a ton about the specific products that we've built or are building, but I will say, like, when you do start diving in, so you're with streaming, you consider it for specific reasons. And then as you go to build a product like our Ace Trainer slab boxes, where, it's a form of a mystery product, it's definitely like forefront, one of the most important things that we're thinking about when we go to build a product like that as well. Because, there is a line of like, when does it become predatory? Now that line probably exists at different locations for different people, but it's definitely something like at the forefront of our mind as we're going and building out products like that.
People giving you guys a lot of love in the chat. Appreciate you guys as well. It's like an interesting, like, Alpha Investments always bashed on the people who came for him for cheap boxes and would leave when they could save a few bucks elsewhere. So like, my mindset on stuff like this is, we are looking for customers and clients who we care about and care about us. And there's a reciprocal relationship where we're both financially ethical and relationally ethical and all these types of things. And so I would say there's an issue with his business model if this is happening, and that's a key thing. So like, for example, if we couldn't be ethical and we would have to be unethical to then make money, I would just shut our business down and say that the business model doesn't work. My reaction wouldn't have been like, I've heard this around like Danny Phantom, for example, who will like sell boxes below MSRP. It's a similar thing. And then it's like, well, those same people won't come back and buy from, and it's like, yeah, like there's a lot of people out there who, like, they're just trying to get the best deal possible, and they're not interested in community and relationships and in the streaming. Like, they're not a good customer for streaming. They're not a customer that, it's fine. I think it's fun when people get cards like way below market. I think that's like exciting for them, and it's kind of like a cool, fun moment, but it's not it's not something you can build a business on, and it's not something that even creates a good environment. Like again, then it's an environment where the buyers are trying to get cards way under, and the sellers trying to sell cards way over, and there's this weird tension. You know, it's filled with a bunch of people who are like, that's why they're there, versus they're there to like hang out, get some deals that are like reasonable, you know, get cool cards for market price or close to market price or a little bit under, you know.
And on the flip side of that, it's like we have an audience that supports us, and then we're really good about supporting them back. So every time they want to sell a collection, like we're here to buy it from them, you know, and put some money back in their pocket, or we're refunding the extra shipping. So it's I feel like we do have a good balance between streamer and audience, and they're looking out for us because we have great people, and then we're looking out for them to kind of pay it forward at the same time. So I think it's an awesome kind of give and take a relationship that we're building there.
Yeah, and I think you don't need to capture every customer. You just need to capture the good customers. And that's what's actually going to help you succeed in the long run.
And it's really important actually in a streaming business to not capture these sort of unpleasant customers, to be honest with you, because they, you know, they can cause a lot of problems for your good customers, you know.
Yeah.
And now I think there's a misunderstanding that like some people get banned for coming into a stream and saying, hey, that card went for way over, right? I mean, that's an interesting thing to talk about, right? You know, how do we deal with that? So, you know, if someone comes into a stream and says, hey, why are you guys paying so much for those cards? You know, something Chef may say is, hey, you know, sometimes they pay. First of all, shaming people for spending, like they're like that person is focused on how the streamer is making money they shouldn't, instead of shaming people for spending money on the card. So you're already shaming, you're coming in kind of being very rude and aggressive. You don't know what's going on and what the environment is, and you're shaming the audience for spending too much, and or for the streamer for being predatory. And I get that you're trying to help probably a lot of these people, but you know, that's the first thing I would say is we don't want to shame anyone for buying anything, just like we don't want to shame people for buying things below market. We don't want to shame people for buying things above market. Now there have been a couple of times where people have bought stuff so high above market that will like put in extra cards.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Yeah,
but like 95% of the time, people are spending 2% over market, 4% over market, and you know, and it's not crazy. It's not like a big rampant issue. Like all these people are doing it. And when someone comes in and says that, you know, another thing is like, hey, like, you know, that's part of it. These are auctions that are being run live, and people are live bidding on it. And sometimes someone bids on it without looking up the price somewhere else. Sometimes no one looks up the price, and then the card goes for $50 under, you know, in the same token, because no one's looking up the card and they're just buying it if they want it, right? It's a different type of environment than an environment that is so focused on money. You know, everyone is so, or not everyone, lots of people are so focused on money that they can't understand why someone just wants to buy a card, and like they buy a card that they like and then have a nice, pleasant interaction with the chat, like, you know, and it's like, that's actually a huge win. That person enjoying their life. It's not, they're not there to like flip the card or to make money or to start a business. It's different audiences, different groups of people kind of running into each other. But yeah, it's definitely, you know, interesting dynamics. I think those are areas where you guys have, you know, thought a lot about and improved over time on kind of how to manage that, how to keep, you know, be transparent and honest, but, you know, but also protect the people there, you know, who are trying to enjoy themselves and have a good time.
And I will say, like, a card going crazy over is few far in between, but it does, like, you always have like that one person who jump in and be like, oh, it's over, and it just creates a complete awkwardness in the entire stream, and then you gotta backtrack. But I like, for me, if people don't like the streamers yelling at chat, that's almost like an equivalent as an audience kind of doing it to the streamer, or making the stream kind of feel awkward. I don't think there's any productivity in like calling something like that out. Plus, you don't know, like, usually people are just jumping in the stream and just saying that they haven't been there but for 2 minutes, and you don't know if the guy won the last 5 for way under, and now he can bid higher on this one. And you don't know if the card that we showed, they feel like they can grade it, or it's got a swirl, or it's nostalgic to them, and they haven't seen it, or that, you know, not everybody's at shows, not everybody's at card shops, not everybody's shopping online. It could be their first time on eBay seeing Pokemon first day back in the hobby, and they have no idea. So it's tough for me to see when somebody likes to kind of throw that in the chat. I don't care for it at all, because there's so much, there's so many unknown factors to that. And then who is somebody to say what somebody can and can't do with their stuff? And then nobody will call out when the $50 card goes for $1. You know, like,
right, exactly the comment that was being made here, right? At Alpha Investments point, you know, but I think like our business is not built on selling cards over market.
Correct.
Our business is selling cards on average at or slightly below market, truthfully.
Yeah.
And as long as all of the cards over a long period of time go on average for at or slightly below market, we will have a good thriving business. Like, those are the margins that we need to develop. And so that's the great news, is that that isn't the business model. And so if that happens, you know, we don't want to shame anyone in the chat. You know, but again, yeah, who's you know, they should be like, who's going to shame a buyer for buying too low? You know, it's like, come in and say, hey, you bought that $50 under. How could you do that to them? How could you do that? Like, how could you scam them? Yeah, it's like, you know, it's very funny. So I have to run in a few minutes, guys. I'm just going to put up just a couple of more comments and questions. I'm just noticing the time. I have to get back to some work that I need to do tonight on our behalf around 10 o'clock. Let's see if we can take a couple of more. Just a lot of great comments and questions here, and apologies if I skipped yours by mistake or.
Definitely shout out the chat too. There's a good amount of people from the stream in here too, so it's really cool to see. So shout out to you guys.
Awesome. And you guys probably have no idea who I am. People from the stream, funny enough. You know, I'm believe it or not, I'm very involved. Just on the back. But yes, this is my channel that I started many years ago, and took a long hiatus from, but have started making videos again. And this channel is focused on the Pokenomics, the business side of Pokemon. And so something different. Let's see. How many cards do you come across that are meant to be sold, but you end up keeping for your own collections?
Oh my gosh. I'm probably really bad about that. So I love when we get a restock, and I love when we get slabs in. The first thing I do is start going through some of those, because I still love the cards, and I still collect. I don't collect near as heavy as what I did jumping back in the hobby, but I also feel like that's normal and also fits kind of like the patterns and stages you go through. But 100%, I do that. I'm super guilty of that. I wouldn't say it's not every shipment or anything like that, but you know, once a month or a couple months, there's definitely some that hide in there that I'm like, ooh, I need to get that done, you know? So but I like a lot of funny stuff. I'm not out there chasing ponchos and stuff like that. I like a mega halucha. I like fun things like that.
I know I see Chef on our eBay account buy like mega haluchas once in a while. It's true.
Yeah. Like I was completing the I had the Captain Pikachu from the Chinese Gem 1s, and I wanted the other 3 just to have it. So like I like the fun stuff like that, or like the stuff that I feel like, I don't know, stuff that makes me happy, but it's not crazy in price. Usually that's the stuff that I care about. It's never anything like wild. I don't think I've ever kept anything wild by any means, anything crazy at all. I like all the fun, like little things.
I just got this cutie.
There you go. That's awesome.
Yeah, for me, I think with our process, the way that the business runs, fortunately, I actually don't run into this too often because when the cards and collections come in, shout out to Pokemon Wonder, he's the one who's actually dealing with these mostly, and then he just sends me a subset of those cards. And so like in my mind, I already know like these are all for stream. Now where that comes to bite me is I sell the cards, we pack the cards, and when I say we, I mean my wife and I pack the cards, and she goes, "Ooh, I like this one. Ooh, I like this one. Ooh, I like this one." So then I end up going out to card shows and buying copies of those cards for my wife. So I buy some for myself too, but the stream inventory usually comes to bite me more so for my wife because I end up buying her cards that she likes as opposed to keeping anything for myself.
All right, last serious question of the night. Can we talk about Wade packs or Wade bundles? Not from you guys per se, but maybe distro. Do you guys have any thoughts on this?
I don't. I don't know. I don't know if. I guess you can't put anything past anybody, but I don't know if a distribution would have that much interest in weighing and doing stuff like that. I've never seen or experienced that, so I can't talk to it that much. I haven't had any experience with anything like that. And we rip hits all day long. It's crazy how many hits we get for people. So it's a zero concern on my end.
Yeah, I'd say it is something that does exist. And I think it's for English specifically, I think it's like Prismatic and Ascended are probably like the two biggest culprits. Maybe 151 because there are the demigod packs. I don't know what the weight looks like on that. Like I'm not someone who weighs packs. But what I will say, like thinking holistically, because of this, if you are buying individual packs from a source, that buying from a trustworthy source is the route I would suggest going. Now, maybe that is your favorite streamer if you trust them, or maybe that's, a vendor that you have bought from many, many times. But like as an overarching concept for these sets where things can be weighed, just be diligent. But what I will say is for very large businesses that go through a lot of volume, like distro or like very large streaming businesses, I think the likelihood of them doing any type of weighing is less. I'm not going to put it at zero, but there's so much time and energy they have to put into all the different aspects of their business that in my mind, the likelihood of them taking the time to do something like that is minimal. And also, like, if I'm thinking of streaming specifically, it probably becomes apparent pretty quickly that, I guess maybe not for God packs, but you would think someone who's ripping enough packs, you would expect to see, God packs or something every now and then at least. And so, like, at that point, it's like, okay, so what are they going to be weighing the packs? And they're like, oh, okay, well, there's like 5 God packs here, so I'll keep 3 for myself, but I'll keep 2 in there just to, keep the customer honest so that they think that I'm not weighing packs. Like, I think all of that's probably like too much effort and energy for a huge business that's pushing a lot of volume to make a couple hundred, maybe a couple thousand extra dollars. Not to say it's not happening, but that's what my gut reaction is to larger, whether it's distro or someone else weighing things.
Yeah, I think I would be surprised if it like financially made that much sense. So I don't know like how rare a God pack is, but I feel like it would take so long to weigh enough packs to find one that if they have any sort of a decent business, and then you have to rip open all the product, and I don't know. It's like, but yes, I mean, if someone theoretically, if your streamer keeps all of their packs packs like sealed, but not in booster boxes or other types of products, and they're just have it all loose. Like theoretically, I guess if they have a system where they could quickly weigh them, that could be a thing. But I don't know of anyone doing it. It's not something I know of.
And I feel like that's counterproductive.
Yeah, and we don't deal super heavy in sealed, so I would say like as a general, we're not experts on these types of things. So it is possible that it's like we don't do enough of this that we would know if it's financially viable. So it is possible someone's doing it out there. But we sell, I don't know how many packs we sell a day, but it's pretty marginal, you know.
And it's also like, what's the risk for that business? Like if they are a customer facing business in a form of like a stream or something, I think that the risk is higher than someone who's more so operating in the shadows and like not actually customer facing. Maybe they are just selling a lot of business to business. So
yeah.
All right, last question of the night. What's the best looking brisket you've seen today?
Shout out to B-Tide right there. He a lot of people in the chats and stuff, I always tell them to send me food, or we talk about food a lot, or send me menus, let me pick your food. But he sent me 2 briskets today that were really nice. He had a crazy smoke ring around. So shout out to him. Good job on that brisket.
So, all right. So I really appreciate you guys, everyone in the chat hanging out with us for the last couple of hours. Also, people just coming and hanging out. I recognize some of these names. A Wildcard just jumped in.
Wildcard hopping.
Wildcard. Really appreciate everyone from eBay Live coming in, and then also people from who normally watch my channel hanging out with us tonight. Thank you for supporting us. It means a lot, and we'll keep working hard and doing what we're doing. We definitely have some exciting products and exciting things we're working on and building, and hope to show you guys soon. Any last minute comments, guys?
Yeah, I'll just say thanks to you, Jake, for having us on. Like you said, this is our first time being on your channel, and I know you stepped away from the YouTube space for a while, so happy to be one of the first guests you've had on, scheduled guests since getting back into.
I think, right? I don't think I've had a guest on yet. I think you guys.
Yeah, I think you. Oh no, yeah, I don't think you have any guests on yet. There we go. So yeah, we'll take that for sure. And like you said, shout out to all the great people, whether it's from eBay Live or from your audience, hopping in and showing some support. Just as a reminder for y'all, if you do want to, show some more support to us, I'll be live tomorrow at 6, running some auctions for singles cards. But really, Mason's going to be ripping Chaos Rising tomorrow pack. So if you even just want to stop by, say hello to Mason, support the Gene Man, and see some of the newest set open, be sure to stop by our eBay Live at 8:30 Eastern tomorrow for that. And I said also at the beginning of the stream that this weekend coming up is going to be Card Party San Diego. So if you're there, we should be close to the entrance. I don't remember exactly where our tables are, but come find us and say hello. We'll be there this weekend. And by we, I mean Mason and myself. So looking forward to hopefully seeing some of y'all there.
If anybody's never tried an eBay Live, I encourage you to do so. I encourage you to, find your streamers out there, find us on eBay Live. And I'm also very appreciative to everybody who supports us, whether it's in, the YouTube or it's on eBay Live, whether it's participating in auctions or just hanging out. It's it goes a long way, especially for me, in it full time. So it's always noticed. I talk about it all the time, but I greatly appreciate each and everybody who does that and comes through and supports us. So shout out to you guys. Big thank you to you guys every single day.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you guys taking the time, and we'll have to do this again soon.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. All right. Take care, everybody. Everyone have a good rest of your night.
Thank you.